The orchestra was still playing when Prince William rose from his chair. Across the glittering ballroom, Princess Charlotte stood frozen beside the stage, tears running down her face as Meghan's final words hung over the stunned guests. William did not consult an aide. He did not wait for the cameras to turn away. With one sharp command, he halted the charity gala, crossed the room toward his daughter, and transformed a royal celebration into a night of reckoning. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. Catherine reached Charlotte first. She placed both hands around the child's shoulders and turned her away from the crowd, but the princess had already heard enough. Moments earlier, Meghan had accused Charlotte of being placed before cameras to replace people the palace had pushed aside. When the young royal defended her mother, Meghan answered with words no child should hear. She was old enough to understand how the family used children. Shock moved through the ballroom. The Children's Futures Charity Gala, a fundraiser supporting young people facing illness, poverty, and family instability, had been designed as a night of hope. Charlotte attended because her parents believed engagements could teach her royal duty was rooted in compassion. Meghan's invitation was limited. She was present through an international advocacy partner, a sign of temporary civility, not a return to official royal life. William saw the tears before anyone could soften the truth. He asked a shaken charity official one question: "What did she say?" The answer changed his face. He removed the folded speech from his jacket, placed it untouched on the table, and told the host, "There will be no speech tonight." The future king ordered the music stopped. The formal program was suspended. Yet the microphones near the stage remained active for several seconds, carrying part of his command across the room. "My daughter leaves now, and so does she." Meghan stepped forward, insisting her words had been misunderstood. William raised one hand and refused to let her approach Charlotte. Security officers moved into position while hundreds of guests watched in silence. Catherine held her daughter closer, and the prince turned away from every explanation. Princess Anne stayed behind. She asked the event director for recordings from the stage area, including the live microphone feed. Her decision suggested something darker. The outburst may not have been sudden at all. William escorted his family from the ballroom, but the tears that ended the gala had exposed more than one cruel sentence. They revealed old resentments, private fears, and a family conflict close to breaking. For the watching crowd, the crisis lasted only minutes. For the people at its center, it carried years of unresolved pain. Princess Charlotte was not merely a young royal embarrassed before strangers. Catherine was not simply an angry mother. William was not acting only as heir to the throne. Meghan had not entered an ordinary family gathering. Each carried a private wound, and the gala placed those wounds dangerously close together. Charlotte understood that cameras followed her, but she had not yet learned how to hide every feeling behind a calm expression. Her parents had agreed to bring her because the charity's work with vulnerable children genuinely mattered to her. The engagement was meant to build confidence and show that royal service, the public work carried out on behalf of the crown, could be compassionate rather than frightening. Instead, one exchange had turned duty into humiliation. Catherine guided her daughter into a small retiring room, away from the ballroom. Charlotte's hands trembled as she removed her gala bracelet and placed it on the table. Then came the question that broke the princess's heart. Did I do something wrong by speaking? The mother knelt immediately. She fastened the bracelet back around the child's wrist and held her gaze. "Nothing that happened tonight belongs to you," she said. Defending someone she loved was not shameful. Speaking honestly was not the mistake. The cruelty had come from an adult who should have known where anger ended and childhood began. William stood near the closed door, fighting two instincts at once. The father in him wanted to confront Meghan without delay. The future king understood that one uncontrolled exchange could deepen a family rupture already visible to the world. Yet he feared something even more damaging: If he remained calm for appearance sake, Charlotte might believe royal dignity mattered more than her pain. Meghan had already objected privately to the official arrival order, the planned sequence showing who entered the gala and in what position. She argued that placing Charlotte beside her parents made the child part of an effort to diminish others within the wider family. Harry knew the tension was dangerous. Before the event, he had warned his wife through a private conversation not to discuss Catherine or the children under any circumstances. That warning now carried terrible weight. He had understood how close the evening was to collapse, yet the collapse had happened anyway. Princess Anne approached William as the family prepared to leave, through a private corridor. Her voice remained low, but her words changed everything. This confrontation, she told him, closely resembled an earlier incident the palace had deliberately buried. The outburst was no longer an isolated mistake. It was the return of something unresolved. Anne's warning pointed toward a private confrontation weeks earlier. The exact moment when discomfort hardened into resentment and made the Gala explosion almost inevitable. The true beginning of the Gala crisis did not take place beneath chandeliers or in front of hundreds of witnesses. It began 3 weeks earlier, behind the closed doors of a Windsor dining room, during a family luncheon intended to lower tensions. No cameras recorded the moment. No official statement acknowledged it. Yet one exchange involving Catherine, Meghan, and Charlotte became the point of no return. The warning everyone later realized they had chosen to ignore. Charles had authorized the small gathering to test whether limited contact with Harry and his wife could happen without reopening the family's deepest wounds. Windsor was meant to offer privacy, while the luncheon itself was designed as a controlled meeting rather than a full reconciliation. William attended reluctantly. Catherine agreed only after making one condition clear: the children would remain outside every adult dispute. Charlotte entered the room by accident. She had come to return a brooch her mother had left in another sitting room, and she expected to leave within seconds. The young princess wore a small pearl pin, once associated with Diana, a simple family gift carrying deep emotional meaning because it connected the next generation to William's late mother. Meghan noticed it immediately. She asked why the child was being given symbols that belonged to a story the palace had rewritten. Catherine answered calmly that the pin was a family gift, and nothing more. But the response did not end the exchange. The Duchess accused her of using Diana's memory to strengthen William's future reign, and make one branch of the family appear more legitimate than the others. Charlotte heard her grandmother's name spoken with anger. She looked between the adults and asked why everyone was upset. Catherine stood at once, took her daughter by the hand, and ended the conversation. Meghan insisted she had only spoken an uncomfortable truth, yet the damage had already been done. William waited until Charlotte had left. Then he closed the dining room door behind Harry and placed both palms on the table. No aides remained. No formal language softened the warning. "You gave me your word," he said. "My children are not part of this." Harry promised the child would never again be drawn into their conflict. That promise did not survive. Princess Anne later learned through a documented seating request that Meghan had asked gala organizers to move Charlotte away from the principal table, the main table reserved for the evening's central guests. The request was rejected, but William was never told. A senior aide had concealed both the Windsor exchange and the seating objection because Charles wanted the event protected from controversy. That silence removed every safeguard. On the afternoon of the gala, Meghan saw Charlotte's name printed beside her parents on the official program. She turned to an assistant and said, "So they have made their choice." By then, the smiles and speeches concealed a conflict already primed to erupt. Once Charlotte's tears appeared, William was no longer willing to settle it quietly. William did not confront Meghan in the ballroom. He waited until Charlotte had been placed safely with Catherine, then entered a private corridor, where Meghan stood beside Harry and 2 security officers. No cheering crowd remained. No charitable cause could soften what came next. The future king faced the woman whose words had reduced his daughter to tears, and for the first time that night, the anger behind his decision was allowed to speak, without ceremony. Security had moved Meghan away from the main ballroom, but she had not yet been removed from the building. Harry demanded a chance to explain before any permanent action was taken. William entered alone after asking Princess Anne to remain near Catherine and Charlotte. His choice mattered. This was first a family confrontation, and only second a royal crisis. Meghan insisted the child had interrupted an adult conversation. She argued that her anger was directed at the palace, not at Charlotte herself. William rejected the distinction immediately. "An adult chooses where to place anger," he said. "You placed yours on my daughter." Harry stepped between them. He accused his brother of turning one emotional mistake into a public punishment, and warned that stopping the gala had humiliated everyone connected to the event. The prince did not move. He answered that the evening ended because Charlotte's safety mattered more than appearances, speeches, or royal pride. Then William revealed what Meghan had not expected. He knew about the seating request. He knew about the Windsor luncheon. He knew that she had questioned Charlotte's place beside her parents long before the gala began. The certainty in his voice made clear that the hidden incidents were hidden no longer. Anne arrived carrying a small event recorder containing the captured exchange. The device had preserved the active microphone feed from the stage area, meaning the exact words could be checked, rather than softened by memory or gossip. She confirmed that Meghan's remarks were clearly audible. No misunderstanding could erase them. William made the decision there. Meghan would be removed from the charity's remaining events, and every future invitation involving his children would be suspended until a formal family review was completed. The review would examine the incident and decide whether any future contact could occur safely. Meghan reached toward him as he turned away. He stepped back, looked directly at her hand, and said, "Do not ask me for calm while my daughter is still crying." A security officer opened the exit door. Harry followed William and warned that removing his wife publicly would force him to choose a side. The future king stopped. Tonight, Charlotte did not get that choice. The corridor settled who would leave, but not who held the power to make the punishment permanent, or whether Charles would support a son who had acted before seeking the sovereign's approval. By midnight, the crisis had reached the king. Charles received 3 accounts of the same event: William's uncompromising version, Harry's furious defense, and the cold clarity of the gala recording. The decision before him was larger than a cancelled program. If he overruled William, he risked telling Charlotte that royal unity mattered more than her pain. If he supported him, he would deepen a fracture he had spent years trying unsuccessfully to contain. Charles understood the balance of power. As monarch, he held authority over formal royal access and family arrangements, meaning the rules governing who could attend official events and under what conditions. William, however, controlled whether his own children appeared beside Harry and Meghan. That difference mattered, because no palace order could force a father to place his daughter back into a situation he believed was unsafe. Palace advisors urged restraint. They wanted a neutral statement, expressing concern without assigning blame, fearing that open punishment would dominate headlines and bury the charity's purpose beneath another family scandal. The king listened, but the arguments weakened when he played the gala recording alone. Charlotte's shaken voice appeared faintly in the background. Charles stopped the audio. He removed his glasses, placed them beside the recorder, and sat without speaking. In that silence, the crisis stopped being a question of image. It became the sound of a child, trying not to cry, while adults argued around her. Harry called before the meeting ended. He insisted Meghan had been provoked by years of exclusion and humiliation. Charles allowed him to finish, then answered with painful calm. Disappointment could explain anger. It could not excuse directing that anger toward Charlotte. The monarch then learned the full truth. A senior aide had suppressed the Windsor luncheon incident and hidden the seating plan objection from gala organizers. The household had tried to prevent embarrassment, but that silence removed the very safeguards that might have protected the child. Avoiding one scandal had created a far greater one. Princess Anne spoke to Charles through a private recorded consultation. She warned that reversing William would weaken the future king before both the family and the institution. This was not revenge, she argued. It was a parent drawing a boundary after every quieter warning had failed. Charles signed the internal directive. The document formally supported the suspension of Meghan's invitations to events involving the Wales children, and ordered a review of how complaints concerning royal minors were handled. He set down the pen and told his private secretary to remove every phrase that sounded defensive. "The child comes first," he said. When the decision reached Harry, he did not argue. He looked toward Meghan and fell silent. The consequences had moved beyond one gala. The king's signature gave William institutional support, but inside the family, it landed like a door, closing on those who had believed private forgiveness would always return. Mourning did not soften what happened. By sunrise, the ballroom had been cleared, the unfinished speeches had been collected, and the charity staff had been ordered not to discuss the crisis. Yet inside two households, the consequences were painfully visible. Charlotte woke afraid that she had ruined the evening. Meghan received confirmation that several future appearances had been withdrawn. Harry discovered that his promise to protect the children had been broken in front of witnesses. The palace delivered its decision privately. Meghan would not attend upcoming family-linked charity events, youth initiatives, or ceremonies where George, Charlotte, or Louis were present. The restriction carried Charles's approval, which meant it was not simply an angry response from William. It had become an official family boundary. William refused to let the scandal destroy the cause itself. He asked organizers to continue the fundraising campaign without repeating the cancelled gala program, and urged donors to focus on the children facing illness, poverty, and unstable homes. The contrast was painful. A night created to protect vulnerable young people had ended with his own daughter feeling exposed. Charlotte entered the breakfast room and saw the abandoned gala program beside her father. She turned it face down without speaking. William moved it away immediately, pulled out the chair beside him, and told her the cancelled evening was not her fault. Catherine listened as Charlotte said she never wanted to attend another evening engagement. The princess felt the weight of those words, but she did not argue. Confidence could not be ordered back into a frightened child. She promised there would be no pressure, no forced smile, and no return until her daughter felt ready. Meghan read the withdrawal notice twice. She placed her phone face down, still expecting Harry to say the decision could be reversed. Then she understood that the king had supported it. Anger gave way to shock. The old pattern of private forgiveness had finally broken. Harry received another blow through a documented household notice. The gala recording would be retained permanently in the Royal Archive, the secure collection where official records are preserved. No future interview or statement could rewrite the exact words captured that night. The aide who had hidden the Windsor incident was also removed from duty pending review, confirming the palace now viewed the failure to protect Charlotte as an institutional error. Harry turned to Meghan and asked why she continued after seeing the child's face change. She defended herself at first. He repeated the question more quietly. This time, she had no answer. Catherine later found William alone, holding the program Charlotte had rejected. She did not ask what punishment came next. She asked whether their daughter would remember Meghan's words or the way her father responded. That question changed everything. Stopping the gala had protected Charlotte for one night, but only a private act of healing could stop those words from following her into the future. The turning point came without officials, cameras, or formal declarations. It happened inside Charlotte's sitting room, where William found his daughter staring at the dress she had worn to the gala. For the first time since the outburst, he stopped speaking as the future king. He sat beside her only as a father. What Charlotte asked him in that room changed the purpose of every decision he had made since bringing the ballroom to a halt. Catherine had encouraged the conversation. She believed Charlotte needed reassurance from the parent whose sudden decision had stopped the entire evening. The child had avoided mentioning Meghan directly. Instead, she kept asking whether the guests had been disappointed and whether the charity had lost support because the program ended early. That worry revealed something painful. She had begun carrying blame that belonged entirely to the adults. William closed the wardrobe containing the gala dress and moved a chair beside his daughter. He did not tell her to be brave. He did not ask her to forget what happened. "You were brave enough," he said. "Now you are allowed to feel hurt." Charlotte looked at him and asked the question she had been holding back. Had he stopped the gala because she cried, or because Meghan had embarrassed the family? The prince answered honestly. He admitted he was angry, but anger alone had not ended the evening. He stopped it because no child should be forced to remain in a room where an adult had made them feel unsafe. Public duty, the official service carried out by royal family members, could never demand that kind of silence from her. Charlotte then confessed that she thought defending Catherine had caused everything. William told her she never had to fight adult battles. Protecting her mother was not her responsibility, and neither was repairing a family conflict that existed long before she entered the ballroom. The father's voice softened. Royal life, he explained, often taught people to endure pain quietly for the sake of appearances. Smiles were expected. Feelings were hidden. Mistakes were covered until they became larger. He promised that this would not be the lesson passed to his children. Charlotte finally made a decision of her own. She would return to the charity, but only during the day, without speeches, grand tables, or a formal crowd. She wanted to meet the children directly. William accepted at once. Catherine later joined them and heard the plan. She saw that her daughter was still hurt, but no longer trapped inside the memory. The visit changed everything. Charlotte sat beside a frightened child and offered her bracelet to hold. That single act would soon reshape the public understanding of the crisis. The private promise restored what the ballroom had nearly taken away, and the world was about to see which part of the story truly deserved to be remembered. For 24 hours, the public knew only that William had stopped a major charity gala after a family confrontation. Then one image emerged from Charlotte's quiet visit to the children's center. It did not show anger, security, or royal authority. It showed the young princess sitting beside a nervous girl, allowing the child to hold the bracelet she had removed while crying the previous night. In that instant, the argument changed. British broadcasters had first described the interruption as an extraordinary royal breakdown. Some questioned whether William had acted as a protective father or allowed private emotion to overwhelm a charitable occasion. Palace communication teams refused to release the recording, but they confirmed that the program had been halted after inappropriate remarks were directed toward a minor. That wording mattered because it moved the debate away from family rivalry and toward the treatment of a child. The following morning, the London Chronicle carried Charlotte's charity centre photograph across its front page beneath one bold headline: "She returned for the children." Outside Kensington Palace, crowds held copies above their heads. A mother lifted her young daughter onto her shoulders so she could place a handwritten card among the flowers. The message was simple: "You did not ruin the night, Charlotte." A national broadcaster opened its evening report, not with Meghan's removal, but with the child comforting another frightened girl. The presenter described William's decision as a boundary that allowed his daughter to return without shame. Suddenly, stopping the gala no longer looked like an act of rage. It looked like the moment that made healing possible. Meghan's supporters pushed back. They argued that the palace was using Charlotte's pain to isolate her and strengthen William's position. Others answered that no history of exclusion could justify directing anger toward a child. The public argument became fierce, But one fact refused to disappear. Charlotte had returned to the charity, while the adult conflict remained outside. The charity then released a documented fundraising update. Donations had surged after William asked the public to keep attention on vulnerable children, producing the strongest fundraising day in the organization's history. The cancelled gala had not destroyed the cause. It had given the cause a deeper human meaning. Charles congratulated Charlotte through a private call and told her that returning required real courage. Princess Anne later praised Catherine in a recorded family conversation for allowing the child, not protocol, the rules guiding royal conduct, to decide when and how she appeared again. William watched the public reaction harden. Sympathy had protected Charlotte, but it could not decide the future. The final choice still belonged inside the family. Would Meghan's suspension remain temporary, or had the night revealed a boundary that could never safely be removed? The final decision was not announced from a balcony, or delivered through a dramatic televised address. William made it in a private family meeting, attended by Charles, Catherine, Harry, Meghan, and Anne. The future king entered carrying no speech and seeking no apology crafted for public consumption. He came to establish one permanent truth. Disagreements between adults could continue, relationships could remain damaged, and forgiveness might someday be possible. But his children would never again be used as instruments in a royal conflict. William confirmed that Meghan's suspension from events involving the Wales children would remain in force indefinitely. It could only be reconsidered after genuine private accountability and clear proof that George, Charlotte, and Louis would never again be pulled into adult grievances. Charles supported the boundary and ordered the household to create a safeguarding protocol, a clear set of rules designed to protect royal minors from harmful family situations. Meghan finally stopped calling the gala incident a misunderstanding. Through a recorded private statement presented during the meeting, she admitted that her anger had passed through Charlotte, even though the child was not responsible for the resentment behind it. The acknowledgement did not bring immediate forgiveness. It brought something more difficult: responsibility. Harry then turned toward his brother. He apologized for failing to honor the promise he had made after the Windsor luncheon. William accepted the words without pretending the damage had vanished. The brothers did not fully reconcile, but their argument over whether Charlotte had been wronged finally ended. Catherine later stored the gala dress instead of destroying it. She told her daughter that one painful memory did not own the person who wore it. Charlotte kept the bracelet from her charity center visit because it no longer represented the night she cried. It represented the day she returned. The prince made his verdict equally clear. Halting the gala had not been revenge against Meghan. It had been a declaration that royal duty lost all moral value the moment a child was sacrificed to protect appearances. Silence could no longer be called dignity when silence allowed harm. William opened the meeting room door for Harry and Meghan, but offered no further argument. They left without renewed access, while Charles upheld the restriction. The future king then returned to Catherine and Charlotte in the adjoining room. His daughter took his hand, and the family walked out together. The gala began as a celebration of compassion, and ended as a test of whether the monarchy could practice the values it publicly praised. William's answer was final. Crowns, reputations, and family diplomacy could wait. Charlotte could not. The strongest act of royal leadership was not commanding a room. It was protecting the person inside it who had the least power. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.